Hey, it's Katelyn and Adam from Enta Asks. Click on the subscribe button below so you never miss an episode.
Also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. Hello and welcome to another episode of Enta Asks. I'm Adam Colazetti.
And I'm Katelyn Bullock. And today we have with us Jeff Griffiths from Workforce Strategies International. And he is the CCG, Chief Competency Geek. And today we are geeking out on competencies. I'm so excited. If you didn't check out our last two episodes, you missed some doozies. Go back, check them out. We heard about some covert ops. Okay, it was awesome. We learned about some sports
Analogies.
Yeah.
Right?
And today we're geeking out and we're going to talk about how we can take these solutions that you have and get some major ROIs.
Yeah, and so I think we had discussed a company that we came in contact with a few years ago. They had already started down this competency journey, and we got involved to accelerate that process. And so it's a steel fabrication and construction company, which is a dangerous game. And they had had a near fatal accident before we were involved with them. And somebody should have died, right? They got hit in the face with several tons of steel at the end of a crane. And so they just about ripped somebody's head off. And they said, the senior manager in this organization said, well, we have an award-winning safety program.
Everybody does.
How does this happen, right? So they threw that all away and they said, we're going to start focusing on competency. We're going to start focusing on how well people can do their job, because doing it right means doing it safe, doing it on time, doing it to the quality level and everything else. And so they started working on this. We got involved with them. We were working on some very specific things around competency development for the frontline supervisors and the foremen, as well as process pieces around the competency based practices as it, throughout the organization. So that structural piece that we've talked about. And anyway, as a result of all of this effort that they went through, and it was over a few years, learning as they went, they went from, putting someone off work literally every week to 5 man years without an accident.
Wow.
And so that it worked out to about a 3,500% improvement in their safety record.
Wow. Now that's an award-winning safety program.
And they don't have a safety program anymore. The competency program is their safety program.
I love that.
And what they were seeing is not only the knock-on effects. Everybody went home at night. Everybody was safe. Their workers' comp premiums go down. Right. The management time spent investigating incidents and accidents disappears. So they're more productive. They're not shutting job sites down now. And people that are doing things right are doing it safe. They're doing it to the quality level that's expected. So their quality numbers went up. Their rework numbers went down. The productivity that they were getting out of their crews goes up. Absolutely. Again, all because of the focus on competency.
That's right.
And so they're able then to underbid other people or bid the same as everybody else and make a lot more money because they're not worrying about the productivity issues and the quality issues and everything else.
Yeah.
So it's huge impact for organizations on that.
And I think it's important, like at the beginning you said they had already started on the journey, right? They understood. They were bought in to the idea that and that's where a company like Workforce Strategies is an accelerant, right? It's like gasoline on the fire, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always say that the work that we do, there's people that get it, and there's people that don't. And if it's a little bit like to use a religious analogy, I don't know if we're allowed to do that or not.
Disclaimer.
But like if you've already found religion, but you don't know where the church is, I can help you find the church, right? Yeah. If you've decided that the way you're doing things is just fine and you're not willing to embrace this shift, because there's a fundamental management and a fundamental organizational shift to a competency-based approach. Right. If you haven't yet made that, connection and you haven't had that aha moment, what I say about competencies and things like that is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. No one gets it. So it's a waste of your time and mine to talk about it. But if you're there and you go, we need to find a better way, Now we can make those results come much faster,
right,
much more programmed, much more predictable results for the organization, which generates the ROI. So it's not about floundering around in the dark and hoping.
No.
It's about getting there.
Yeah, you've got the system, you've got the experience and the tools ready to go.
And you've got to walk the walk, right? So if the leadership isn't prepared to fully commit and do it, then it's, you're not going to see a fundamental change across a entire organization of people.
Right? It's just like raising kids, right? If the parents aren't doing it, the kids won't.
Right? Yeah.
So here's a question for you. Could a company, though, start with a team and test out the...
In many cases, particularly with larger organizations, it's easier to do this within a division or a department. One little, what we always get, a little skunk works operation.
Yeah.
Because innovation always happens out on the fringes.
Yeah.
Right. In a smaller organization, you can do the whole thing at once.
Right.
In a larger organization, it makes more sense to pick something that's got a problem, which is what the steel guys did.
Yeah.
They looked specifically at their fabrication and construction division,
right,
and said, let's start there. Right. And eventually it went,
everywhere,
and went viral throughout the organization. But start with something, see the results, and then replicate.
Right.
So it's usually, in a department or one plant in a multi-plant operation or whatever, that's where you can see it. And you can experiment with it because it's small enough that when you make a mistake, you can fix it.
Well, and I think
you're not shutting everything down.
And that's a great way to put it. You experiment, you iterate, right? There is no playbook that is exactly the same for every organization.
No, but every organization is different.
Yeah.
Right? Organizations are organic. They're made up of people. People are
different.
They're different. So, and even I can take people with the same competencies, basic competencies from one organization where they're very successful, put them in a different organization, and all of a sudden they're not.
Right.
Because the dynamics of competency is that it's not just your competence, it's the competencies you're surrounded with.
Right.
It's the systems that are in place. So you need to have basic principles in place, but you still need to work out, specific bespoke solutions that are unique to the organization so that get the best results for that organization.
And we see that all the time in our company. Like, you and I will work together and we joke that we have a unibrain, right? And we just know how to play off each other in the exact moment to come in. Okay, and I know Adam's got this and I've got this and my strength's here, so I know it's coming over the fence to me. Right. But if I was to pair up with somebody else, I would still have the competencies I have, but I don't have that same. So I get it. I get that you can't take that competency. It's not a one size fits all.
No, and that's again the advantage of working outside of your own box, right? They always say, you can't read the label if you're in the jar.
This is true. I love your
and and so it's really hard when you're in the middle of it to get the outside perspective to look at, well, what if, right?
Yeah.
And what if we change this and look at it from that perspective? And most organizations are running so lean, they don't have time to step outside and do that.
Right.
And so that's where external assistance can be really
helpful. We find, not so much with the smaller, even the medium-sized organizations, but with the bigger ones where there might be a little bit politics going on, a third party coming in becomes a neutral voice.
Yeah, that helps.
Right.
That helps.
So.
When you talk about the politics, right, and organizationally, I always like when they talk about, management teams.
Right.
I mean, you go into the organizations and find out what they have is actually a management committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a team, because in a team we all win and lose together.
Yeah.
And what you have is people jockeying for resources and jockeying for their own little fiefdoms within that organization.
That's right.
And it's difficult to make change in that kind of an environment without, again, having someone from outside to point and go, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
And that is the exact structure of any leadership board, right? The CEO, VP 1 through 10, right? That's not a team, right?
No.
By that definition,
it can be.
Right.
It can be.
But
typically you wind up with each individual fighting for their own little piece of the pie.
Well, this guy has his KPIs and success metrics that have nothing to do with this guy's, and yet we're all supposed to be
We're all supposed to, and it's difficult, right? And especially when resources are scarce.
Absolutely.
Right? Everybody wants to grow their own operation, their own fiefdom. Having external support to that, to keep it honest, is helpful. Right. Yeah. And I mean, we're a relatively small company. We bring in outsiders all the time.
Right.
We're supposed to be good at this, but again, you can't read the label if you're inside the jar. It makes much more sense for us to bring in an outsider to kick our butts, right? Rather than try and sort it all out on our own. It's just, we get there faster with them.
Well, the best piece of advice I ever heard was, if you're looking for a coach or a consultant, you ask them who they're getting mentored by and who they're getting coached by. And if they say nobody, don't go with them, right? Because it's true. If you're going to have somebody, we talked about this, push you outside of your comfort zone to be the best, to be in that place so you can amplify your results, you got to have somebody push you from the outside.
I got myself a coach about 4 years ago, and I will never not have one now.
Right.
And my coach's coach shows up at meetings every now and again as well, right? So it's, and my coach is really good, better than me, further along on the curve than I am.
Yep.
His coach is 10 years further along the curve than he is.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. And so, and his coach has a coach.
Wow.
Right. So it's just, and it's all about learning from other people. Learn from the mistakes of others, because you'll never live long enough to make them all yourself.
Right. Plus, you don't want to.
Right.
It hurts. This is great. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. And if a company, not if, you as a company need to have this, because one, get more out of your people. See the ROIs, because we know this does translate into direct profit.
Oh, yes.
Like we talked about that safety program.
3,500%
ROI, but I think we did a calculation once, like a Band-Aid cut on site, where they have to fill out $10,000 worth of processing paperwork.
Not unusual. There was a study that was done a few years ago out of Ontario. The average cost in Ontario industry for a lost time accident was 50 grand.
50 grand.
I believe it.
And, so what does that translate to in terms of bottom line results?
It translates to a phone call to Jeff is what it translates to. I don't know about you, but if you could prevent one of those, two of those.
I mean, is it worth $50,000?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was in 2003, I guess. So those
inflation.
Expect it's more now.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. So we are going to talk next time about
what's next for workforce strategies.
Yeah,
right?
Future.
Which always exciting.
Indeed.
And in the meantime, how can they get a hold of you, Jeff?
Yeah.
You can contact me directly through our website at workforcestrat.com, or you can email me, jeff@workforcestrat.com, and be glad to have a chat.
All right, see you next time, guys. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as we did. So remember, if you know somebody who should be our guest on our next show, just click the link below.
Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe so that you'll never miss an episode.